Hello there. Hello there. You are someone and I'm someone else, and today we're going to be talking about tax reform. Tax reform. Now, I'm going to try to make this video as interesting as I possibly can. Now, right? And this is going to be about tax reform and family formation. What do I mean by that? So, I believe that in order to correct the mistakes of past generations, you must do something completely different. You must radicalize the entire system, right? In that sense, I am like a socialist in that regard. I am not like a socialist in the fact that I want to help disadvantaged people entirely. I want to promote the ideals that the successful people have done. So, what we're going to do is we're going to subsidize the successful people, not entirely, but this is the best way to do it. In my opinion, you shouldn't really be giving welfare out to people. The only people you should be giving welfare out to people are people that have remained married and have raised all of their kids above the age of 18 before getting a divorce. That is the people you should subsidize. Everybody else, nobody's successfully raised a kid. If you've been divorced and your kid has gone through all that stress and hell, no, you've not successfully raised your kid. I saw it with my mom. I see it with other people. Divorced parents generally mentally those kids they're just not there. So, that means it's not that they can't recover, but you've messed up their life for at least the next 5 years. That divorce is going to mess them up. You've ruined that kid's childhood experience. And so, in my opinion, kids that have had parents like my parents have been together for so long, they're not done raising all the kids that are they're almost done. 17. So once my brother turned 18, I would be like, okay, give them welfare money. But so we're not going to talk about that. What we are going to talk about is, first off, real estate taxes and income taxes. So real estate taxes, I believe real estate taxes should never go above 10%. The reason why is because when taxes go up 10% or more, the revenues of the government, and goes for any form of taxes, the revenues for the government maximize at 10%. Once you go above 10%, in the Laffer curve anyway, you actually decrease revenue. The more you tax, the less incentive there is to pay tax, obviously, right? So you get no revenue. Or less revenue, the more taxes you raise above 10%. So 10% is that maximum point. Now, should real estate be taxed maybe a little bit higher, maybe 15%? I would say there should be a constitutional amendment to say 15% max for any type of tax, whether it be income, real estate, sales tax, 15% on anything, right? I'm not a big fan of sales tax as much. I think that actually hurts the market. So I think sales tax would probably be the worst thing for us. I think the only types of sales tax I would probably support would be like a sin tax, like alcohol or drugs. I wouldn't support guns. I am a gun tax. I would support the ideal of our citizens owning guns. I think it is very important that the average citizen own and operate and know how to fire a firearm. Because if the government ever becomes tyrannical, you have the freedom to rebel. You have that freedom. And so, in my opinion, it is very, very important that that people learn how to handle firearms. You don't have to own one, but I think you should all know how to fire one. Again, I think people should try their best to own one because it is. I mean, if you have the money, you should try. I don't even really like firearms, but I generally do think that is the best way you can promote freedom. If the government won't mess with you, you have the skill to protect yourself. You can protect your labor, you can protect your land with your firearm. And if you don't have labor or land, well, you can still protect yourself. You still have a life. If you don't care about your life, I guess that's one thing. But if you care about your life, you should do all you can to protect it. That's my mindset. It's a very simplistic. You could say I'm a conservative in that a pale conservative in that mindset of mine. But I believe the way taxes should be formed is so women have the brunt of educating and child rearing of the children, and this is pretty much true throughout most societies. Men often, for whatever reason, will go on a great adventure and leave their wives and children alone. This is what my mom's always said. This is what a lot of women have said to me. And they said, oh, I don't make enough money to raise my kids. So, the best thing you can do is I would not give welfare to these people. But what I would do, because again, welfare is this involuntary money from somebody else. It's like if we vote to kick one person's balls, right? It'd be like, oh, we vote to take away your money. Oh, it's fair because it's a democracy. We live in it. It's fair because we voted to kick your balls. There's no fair trial. We just voted democratically to kick your balls. It's same sort of concept. I don't think we should just be giving money out to people just because they have kids. It was their responsibility to have kids. It's their responsibility to pay for those kids. But what I will say is, okay, if you're a woman, right, and you have one kid, okay, negative 25% less income tax. Once you have 4 kids, you get 100%, if you remain married, that is. After 3 kids, you can only get about negative 75% income tax. But if you remain married and you have 4 kids, and you remain married for those 18 years, no income taxes for the rest of your life. Very good deal. And if you're a father who adopted a kid without a single woman, no women, you're just a single dad or whatever, and you decide to adopt a kid, you also get the negative income tax treatment. So there is opportunity there for men, if they wanted to raise a kid by themselves, to have negative income tax treatment as well. I am all for gender equality, because women have the brunt of pregnancy and child rearing. Obviously, I am gearing this system towards women because they keep complaining that we don't make enough money in our industries. We keep majoring in stuff that doesn't have as much marginal utility, teaching and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, I mean, and a lot of protection jobs like the military and police. My mom was like, why do the police and the military make more? Well, maybe it's because the skills they have. I don't know. Maybe I'm probably wrong on this, but those are also involuntary industries. They're all paid for by taxes. But I mean, they're voluntary in the fact that you can call the police. Military, you can't really call. The governor gets called upon. They call the military. But anyway, that's besides the point, right? I would say police and teachers have the same thing. They're sort of involuntary, but the reason why police would make more is because their job, when they're interacting with certain groups of people, can be extremely dangerous. Now, I would say teachers can have a very dangerous job too. There are some kids where they need a parole officer. They cannot be with other kids and interact safely with other kids. So you could argue that being a teacher could be just as dangerous as being a police officer. But I think the main reason why police officers are paid more is because a lot of people have a fear of guns. Just like I do, honestly. But like I said before, I did say that I'm more pro-gun than anti-gun. With that being said, I think the main reason why police would make more than a teacher is just because of their whole aspect of what do you do in a situation where you need to de-escalate something. Because police are seen as more hostile than teachers. You always see, even like bad people will be more hostile towards police than teachers. There are some people that are hostile towards teachers more than police, I would argue. But I feel like there are a lot more people that demonize police more, and I think it's maybe it's the dehumanization of police that causes it to become more paid. I don't think that's probably not true, but governments that really want a high protection will pay that price for a good police. But that's besides the point. I don't know what I'm going off on. I'm going on these random rants. I should not be talking about police. I should be talking about stupid income. Okay, so with the real estate taxes, they should be going towards private vouchers. Now, surprisingly, our education is not founded by real estate taxes. People believe it's just founded by real estate taxes. That's actually blatantly untrue. We actually print money to pay for education, which is why our inflation rate's so freaking high. We basically, the teacher unions have bribed the government or told the government, hey, we want money, and the government's just been able to comply because they want to see it more competitive in China in the education space. And I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a major education bubble. It's already happened in China, but it's going to burst in the United States too. You're already starting to see it. But it's just the whole thing's a mess. Like, education. Problem is, we're not teaching the skills. If you stay in academia your whole life, you're not gonna make any more money. If you're a student at age 5 and you get a teaching license, you're in the same environment. If you don't change your environment, you're not gonna be able to make more money. People who live in the slums will continue living in the slums. It's the same concept. Teachers don't seem to understand that concept, but there's no distinguishable difference between the environment that teachers in and students in. Like, they're in the same classroom. Now, do they know how to process the information differently? Yeah, one's reading off the curriculum or teaching the curriculum, and the other one is trying to do what the curriculum's telling them to do, whatever. Or the student's just trying to follow the curriculum and then take the test and get a good grade. Is it a very good system? I would argue not really. And the problem is our curriculums are centralized by democracy. That same democratic process where, I vote to kick your balls, same thing with the democratic curriculum. The curriculum should not be democratic. Democracy just means mob rule. Mob, it's all the freakiest mob, whatever, or freakiest person rules, right? That's what happened in France. In fact, France was ruled by the people, not by law. And what happened in France, and this is, I should not be making a rant against democracy in a stupid tax video, but I've already really explained it. Okay, so with the taxes, but yeah, France basically why democracy doesn't work. I'm gonna have a whole different video on that with France. I'm actually gonna make a whole history video about France one day, but that's besides the point. With taxes, right? Let's say you're a single woman, or let's say you're a woman. You have a child with one man, and you remain, you have one kid, 2 kids, 3 kids. If you have 4 kids, you don't get the negative income tax treatment. You have to get married if you want the 100% tax treatment. And if you remain within those 18 years, if you raise all their kids and they're all above the age of 18, then I would say maybe about $250,000, maybe $500,000 of welfare. And then you can divorce the man, do whatever the heck you want. But in my opinion, you have to raise the kids to at least be 18 years old. They can live in your home or whatever. I'm fine with that. But in my opinion, they should be at least the age of 18 if you're going to get welfare stuff. Because that shows me that you care more about the kids. You should sacrifice more for your kid than yourself. A lot of parents, what they'll do, and this wasn't my parents, but I've seen this with my friends, and I absolutely find this so despicable. They get divorced, and then they go find like a bunch of fathers or whatever, or a bunch of other boyfriends, and it's just not a very stable environment for a lot of these kids. They care more about themselves than their kids. And these single women, and then sometimes the single women don't even get the men because they're not as attractive. So, and then that's another bad environment because now they're not making enough income. So but again, that my whole negative income tax treatment should subsidize. And again, if you have like a one night stand, you have one kid, yeah, it's gonna suck. But at least you get the negative 25% less on your taxes. What I say with majoring in useless subjects, I would say if we want to reform the degree system, our college degrees in the United States, the best way we can do that is, all the interest on the loans are going to be pretty much paused, basically. No more accruing interest, but you do have to pay the interest that existed, that would accrue, and the principal of the loan. And you also don't get any income tax treatment, let's say 50%. Because a lot of these women, what's happened with women is they've been lied to by professors saying that their career is like one of the more important things in their life. And that is just blatantly untrue. Most men absolutely hate their careers. You think about plumbers, roofers. Do you think people actually want to do that crap? Or do you think they just do it because they need the money? They need that money to survive. Why would you teach women that paying taxes and having a corporate job is a fun thing? That is why I don't like college. And that's why I've always had a bias towards college. Because I have seen that in my school, they sort of hinted at that a little bit. I don't know if they hinted on it exactly, but that's sort of what they did. They were like, your career is so important. Like the senior year, they put all this pressure on you. I just broke and I just decided to work because I'm like, I'm not mentally dealing with that crap. in college. So again, this whole thing about, and it's the humanists that destroyed our tax system. It was the humanists that did this. You can call them socialists, you can call them whatever they want, but they say we're for the common man. They say, I would call them humanists. They respect for their fellow human, which is fine. The problem is when you have respect for your fellow human, but you don't understand economics, you have unseen consequences with that. I'm not saying that that's necessarily bad or good, but you have to understand, if you put rent control, you're gonna raise the rents. All the properties around are gonna have higher rents, and the rent controlled unit's gonna have no air conditioning, very little plumbing, very little electrical done for the next 20 years. Don't expect people to work if you're gonna lower the cost of goods. I don't see how these humanists, they have so much good intentions, but they just, if we just let the price system work, right? If we just stop rent control completely, right? And then all the people would be incentivized to build properties, because now that renters are actually paying rent that is at the market level, now we can afford to build more homes. Who would have thought? So the pricing, there's a reason why we have a pricing mechanism. It's not about democracy, it's about prices. Prices are like, why do you have a pencil in your pocket? Think about it. Why do you have a pencil, or even a phone, really? Not a single person can make that cell phone. There wasn't a commissar that said, oh, we need to make a cell phone. No, it was up, one country mined a chip. The other country, well, who made the pickaxes to mine the chip? And then, who mined the wood to build the pickaxe? And then, the little silicone that was mined in Africa, shipped over to Taiwan. And, these people would hate each other if they interacted in real life. But the reason why the cell phone exists in the first place is all because of prices. It has nothing to do with the fact that there's a centralized authority telling people what to do. It's all prices. There is no centralized authority. Prices are what gives people freedom. Prices are the indication of the market. And while it's such a vague concept to say prices are more important than a centralized authority, I would argue, yes, it is. I'm very sad that we've not learned that lesson, despite the fact that we have a market economy, but no one's willing to change it that much to where my brother is. But other people, if they start thinking like my brother, they're going to destroy the pricing mechanism. And that's going to be bad. So rent, it's just like rent control, taxes. The reason why we want low taxes is because of the Laffer curve. Really, it's economically because of the Laffer curve. Morally, because voting to kick people's balls is probably not a very good system. Again, do I think that government workers are overpaid? I do, actually, a little bit. The reason why, even though they can't afford rent, is because of the environment. The environment's not profitable enough. In my opinion, schools should be more run like a business and less run like a democracy. Why should the school board decide the fate of the kids when it could be, I don't know, a person who wants to compete against another school board? Why can't we have competing school boards and then we get to pick and decide? Why does everything need to be centralized into one democratic school board? That makes no sense to me. If there were multiple competing school boards, we would have less of a monopoly on education. And we would get more than one perspective, more than one school board. Now, again, school boards are made up of individuals, so I guess you could have multiple perspectives in one school board. But you could argue that that's not. You could argue that if a school board is really, really biased, then you've already messed up. Even if let's say the whole voting sync is 90% wants to vote one way, and the other 10% doesn't like it. Well, tough luck. They're in a centralized school district. I don't know why I'm ranting about school districts. I'm supposed to talk about taxes, but yes, I think the way Hungary does it's amazing. I think we should follow Hungary in our negative income tax treatment with the kids. Again, you only get the 100% negative income tax, like no income tax whatsoever, if you have 4 kids, you remain married. After 18 years, all kids are above 18, then you get some welfare. Maybe $250,000, maybe about $1/10,000. I mean, you don't need it because you're living in a more stable environment than what the government would ever promote for you in the welfare. So that's my opinion, though. When it comes to property ownership, same sort of deal, I guess. If you served in the military, you gave away your freedom. Any bit of military, in my opinion, let's say you served in a war zone, just even near a war zone, you had a chance of being bombed. I would say, yeah, you get your real estate should never be taxed. I don't know why. Why would you serve in a country that taxes your real estate for the rest of your life? In my opinion, no. It's your land is your land. You don't have to pay property income taxes. You still got to pay water. You still got to pay electrical, obviously. But why would you pay property income taxes when you're a freaking veteran? So, in my opinion, that's the way I view it. I honor our veterans. Police, because they interact with citizens, and because those interactions could be more controversial, I would not give it to police. I could understand that. Like, maybe if they did 30 years and they had a clean record for police, then maybe I'd give them the negative 25% taxes on property. But teachers, I don't think teachers, they're not as controversial. I just don't see teachers being as controversial as police. There might be some right-wingers that don't like teachers, and I don't necessarily like them either that much. They're biased only towards the fact that they want more money, but they don't understand where the money comes from. The expenditures are the fact that we printed money to save them. We're printing money because the teachers' production in the economy is less than other people. Argentina, the reason why Argentina sucks right now is because we printed money. Their tax system doesn't work because, again, they used education majors as their main determining factor on the economy, and that was just a bad thing. And we're starting to do it with the United States. We're going to turn like Argentina, and then in 20 years' time, we might go back to libertarian economics. But it's just very, very strange to me that we haven't learned from Argentina. We're doing the same thing that Argentina is doing. We're only 20 years behind them. We're not very far behind Argentina's inflation rate right now. Argentina got 150% inflation rate. I would argue that because we've increased the M3 or M1 money supply or whatever, the money supply in the banking system, it hasn't leaked out yet. And as soon as it does, but it takes a while for it to leak out, but as soon as it does, it will generally impact the expenditures of teachers even worse. And in my opinion, teaching should never have been a paid profession in the first place, because teaching is just not economically, doesn't have as much marginal utility as other professions. Back in the day, they never used to really pay teachers. Teachers were this, literally you lived in your home and you were taught at your home. You didn't have teachers. So we're now paying for something we used to have for free. That's just the way it is. It's a service that we used to get for free. YouTube is a service we pretty much pay, very little, maybe $20 a month for internet service, and I can learn way more from YouTube than I ever did for school. Maybe that's a little bit wrong, but I learned from multiple different perspectives. I learned about the Keynesian school. I learned about the Chicago school. I learned about the Austrian school. I learned about every single school of economics, or any political topic, or any, I learned both sides. I don't just learn one side. Now, sometimes there's an echo chamber for some of the things I listen to. I'm totally in the libertarian sphere. Oh my God, I'm following down the your body is your self-ownership sort of sphere. So that's sort of my political ideology. But when you fall into, you might see those very rare YouTubers that I watch. Very few people watch those YouTubers, like Sean Keeling or whatever. He's a little bit controversial, but you fall into that trap and you're good. Oh, Anyway, goodbye. I gotta go to work. You're someone, I'm someone else, talking about negative income tax treatment with property and income for women, men, and veterans and all that crap. I don't know. I was just talking about taxes today. Goodbye.